Hey guys, it's Miss Nutterfield. This week we're going to be doing a photography project. I'm going to give you a theme to base your photos off of, and I want you guys to go out and shoot them. But before we go into the details of the project, I wanted to go over how to take better pictures, what to think about when you're in the field, and also how to edit them without using any pre-made filters. First, I would like to talk about William Eggleston. He's one of my favorite photographers of all time. He was really active in the 1970s, and he's known for these beautiful, beautiful colors in his film. And you can see like the brown in her hair versus the pinks in her shirt. He had to work really hard to get those colors. And he also took a variety of different types of photography. And there are so many different types of photography. There's like photojournalism or uh, nature photography or fashion photography, but I boiled it down to three different broad terms. There's staged, where everything is set up according to the photographer's vision. And in this example, you can see the dolls on top of the Cadillac hood, and they're all placed very meticulously. So William Eggleston manufactured this to give you a certain look to it, and he wanted you to get a certain feeling from it. And some examples of stage photography would be like taking pictures of food for a recipe, and that kind of thing is very meticulously placed down to what the plate the food is on. And then we're going to go into portrait photography, which is a photo where the person or a group of people are the subject. And portrait photography can be staged, like in photo shoots for fashion magazines. And in this example, William Eggleston probably asked this guy to stand in the middle of this yard, look very relaxed with a neutral expression on his face. And he set himself up so he could be in the center of the image. But there's also portrait photography where it's really impromptu, so maybe your friend's telling a funny story and you catch a picture of them laughing. That's a very emotional picture that's just in the moment, versus maybe taking a picture of some guy on the street where with his headphones in and he's looking really sullen. That's another type of impromptu portrait photography. And then finally we go to my favorite, which is street photography. It's photographs that feature unmediated chance encounters and random incidences. So unlike the dolls in the other example, this example has a car with an ad for the same car in the same color and this beautiful new generation sign on this shop. I can guarantee you, William Eggleston did not set this up at all. He probably just found it when he was walking down the street. He moved himself to frame this picture, and he probably took a lot of different pictures at different angles to get this photograph, but it was just something that happened that day. And I know I've been in situations where I'm like, I wish I had my camera right now so I can just document this weird, obscure moment that happened. And this is the hardest photography to do out of the three, just because you can never plan on something happening in the moment like that. And all of these types of photography are going to lead into composition and what composition is in photography. Composition is how your photos are going to be put together, really. So it's how you're going to exemplify the subject to fit within the theme. And I'm going to give you these tips on how composition can be related to photography. First, you should think about positioning, be that moving your subject matter, if it's a person or an object, moving yourself and the camera, so taking a picture at different angles, or framing it and cropping it in post-production and figuring out where it needs to be placed, which I did a lot in the editing video you're going to see pretty soon. Second is the focus is on the subject. So rather than the composition is going to exemplify your subject, and your subject is going to have to fit within the theme. So maybe your subject is your theme. Let's do the example of your theme is patriotic and you want to take a picture of the American flag. Well, there's going to be a whole different mood if you do the American flag blowing in the wind versus if it's like in the dirt with a bunch of leaves on it. That's two different types of patriotic. And so you should really consider what you're taking a picture of. Next is the eyes journey, which is mostly after you've taken your pictures. Go through all of your images and see where your eye lands and what you're attracted to the most in the picture, because that's going to be really important for a viewer when they first see your image. I would even ask friends and family and show them your pictures and be like, hey, where does your eye fall on this image and where does it go afterwards? Like, how does it radiate out? Everyone's going to be different, but it will be really important information so you can convey the right meanings. And then, really important, recognize elements and pay attention to elements of art and design. So patterns, like what patterns are going to be in your picture, what are they going to take away from? Texture, say your hand's in the grass, the texture of the grass is going to be different than the skin on your hand. Lines, like objects are going to create lines and lead your eye along the picture. Contrast versus shadows and highlights, if you want to use black and white versus color. What's going to be in your picture in the background, like if you take a picture in your room and your room's really messy, that's going to be a different feeling than if your room's really clean, and what you're going to be taking a picture of, because that's going to be in your image forever, so it's going to be hard to edit those things out. And finally, we're going to talk about the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is more of a theory than an actual rule. You don't have to follow it, but it will make your image more easy to look at, and your viewer will have a more natural time interacting with your photo versus them having a hard time digesting what is in your photo. And it's basically splitting up your picture plane into 9 parts, which every phone should have that, and if it's not on your phone, it's probably in the settings. Even Instagram has it. And putting the subject or the main focus of your image in the crosshairs that are created. So you can see with the bee's eye is in the top right crosshair. And it's just easier to look at, but everyone reacts to it differently. Some questions that I would like you to think about when you're taking pictures that are super important are, what are the points of interest in this shot, and where am I placing them intentionally? So when you're out and taking pictures, whether that be outside or in your room, what are you taking a picture of? Why does it matter? And how am I placing them intentionally in the shot? I'm going to start off with using the basic editing that comes with your phone. I'm using an iPhone, and I'm just going through each setting, so exposure, highlight, shadow, contrast, and I'm just seeing what it looks like. So this is basically me creating my own filter, like the different filters you see on Instagram or Snapchat. And seeing what looks good. I had an idea of making it look like golden hour, which is around 7:30 p.m., right as the sun's setting, and I wanted to make it look like it was all golden around, and I wanted to accentuate the nature around. So I'm just adjusting it a little bit. I'm not doing anything crazy. I just go to the end to see what it looks like and just kind of go backwards. I don't think I ever went over 60 or 20%. And then this is me adjusting and cropping to try to fit that line. So this is the original picture versus the picture that I edited with the iPhone. And then this is Snapseed, and I really enjoyed this a lot, actually, because you can change everything. This is white balance, which you can change the color and temperature of the picture with the white balance, me cropping it, and then with the adjusting and turning and rotating, it fills in the part that the picture doesn't reach with like a smart editing filter. It's so helpful. I kind of stayed on that for a really long time trying to figure out how I wanted to have the angles and the perspective. It was so cool. I really recommend this app a lot. And then you can go in and use the brush tool, do a double exposure if you want to. It's super cool. So this is the original photo again versus the one that I used in Snapseed. Now we're going to go into advice from professional photographers who are getting paid to do this sort of thing. This is Victoria. She likes to take pictures in the moment, so she'll walk down the street and try to find things to take pictures of. Usually it's maybe her reflection while taking a picture of someone else. This one is a picture of a stranger she saw with that shirt on. And she tells you not to worry about the camera or the equipment you have, because that doesn't make a good photographer. A good photographer makes their eye sharper, which is, the eye is how finding good photographs. And the way to make your eye sharper is really thinking about the elements and principles of design and challenging yourself in becoming a good photographer. Next we have Casey, and her focus is mostly on portraiture. She usually does pictures of herself where she has staged her own makeup and costumes, and then she really likes this double exposure effect and editing the photographs afterward. And her advice to you guys is to not overthink the theme and not get inside your head too much about this has to fit with the theme or I'll fail. It's more of going out and letting your personal creativity flow, because that will in the end reflect in the work that you create. So I want you guys to know that I picked a theme that would be really easy for you to fudge a little bit. So don't get too inside your own head. Take pictures because you want it to look good. And then for editing, she tells you to underexpose the image, because an underexposed image will have a lot more information that can be exposed through editing. And here's some of the editing apps that I recommend. I really enjoyed Snapseed a lot, and even my phone editing wasn't that bad. You could even use Instagram or Snapchat, but Snapseed was really nice, especially with the smart cropping. Photoshop and Lightroom, you need a Adobe account to access them, but it's free. They're a little bit more advanced. Even for me, they're a little bit hard to use. I just really liked how Snapseed was organized, but give them a shot if you want to. If you're willing to pay for an app, I really liked Touch Retouch. It was only $2, one-time pay, and it just erased entire objects in my photos. Like, I had a big pole in the middle of one of my photos and it completely erased it and filled it in. I think Lightroom does that too to an extent, but it did pretty much all the work for me in Touch Retouch. And then when you're using the browser, if you use it, Pixlr was really nice. It had a lot of options. You need an account though to access it, but it had pretty much everything regular editing software has. And then BeFunky was more fun than it was of editing. Like, you can do different effects and different stamps and use it for collaging and stuff. It was just kind of interesting to play around in if you're interested in that sort of thing. Now we're finally in the theme project. All I need you guys to do is to go outside, do it in your room, take pictures of your family, take pictures of yourself, take pictures of as much as you can to fit within the theme. And then once you're done, go through all your pictures, pick your favorites, edit them. I would probably bring it down to like 5, because you're only going to submit one. But edit your photos, see what they look like, play around with it. Don't be afraid to experiment with the filters. It will only make your pictures better. And then all you have to do is submit them. I would even write a little bit about how um, your picture fits within the theme. And now we're finally at the theme. Drum roll, please. Your theme is preservation. Preservation means to maintain something in its original or existing form, retain a condition or state of affairs, maintain or keep alive a memory or quality, keep safe from harm or injury. Some synonymous words would be conservation, protection, care, safeguarding, continuation, keeping alive, sustaining, or perpetuation. And there's a lot you can do with this. Like some examples would be preservation of nature, or preservation of a memory of a loved one, or preservation of a moment in time. You really can fudge it a lot, and you can even go as detailed as you want with it. And that's it, guys. Good luck. If you have any questions, contact Miss Louise, or this is my email and Instagram. I'm excited to see what you make.